Hello all and welcome, and I'm the MGTOW philosopher. And in this video, I would like to talk about what women mean when they say that there are no good men out there. Now, first off, let's put things into context, shall we? If you go back before feminism and before women dominated the workforce as they do now, you'll find that most women were at home being housewives. At that time, their options were limited in terms of where they could get money and support, as they had no jobs and made no money of their own. Because of this, they needed a man. And in that sense, if a man made a decent living, he was considered a good guy. Heck, if he even had the potential to make a good living, then he would be considered a good guy. In that sense, since she herself made less or no money, as most women didn't work, she couldn't afford to be too discriminating or unrealistic in her choices. Instead, she had to be more realistic and pragmatic. So in that sense, her limited money-making and support options actually gave her more options in regards to available good men to date and marry, since all guys looked pretty good to her, so long as they had a halfway decent job, of course. Now, fast forward 60 years to the present day. Women on average make more money than men. And don't believe the wage gap myth. There's a difference between wages and earnings. The wage gap myth is just that. So women nowadays make more than men on average, whilst men, of course, are going to be making less, obviously. Now, there's a problem for a woman that wants to find a man, because try as you might, there's almost no woman who will accept a man as a viable option if he makes less money than she does. Nope, doesn't exist. Not going to happen. And any man who makes less money is essentially marked off her list as a viable man. Not viable. Yeah, she might bang around and ride the cock carousel in her 20s because she imagines that she has plenty of time and is such a great catch. But once she hits 30, well, that's when she starts looking for that perfect guy. But the problem with that is that more and more women are working and making more money than men. Now, the reasons for this are multiple. Poor education for men, an education system that's been specifically tailored to help girls improve to the point where it no longer caters in any way, shape, or form to men. Hence, teaching boys the same way you'd teach girls ends up essentially ignoring their educational needs while at the same time altering how they think so as to make them more like girls. Then you have discrimination in the workforce by human resources departments run almost entirely by women who only want to hire women. Then you have 65% of people going to college are women. Then you have bosses who want to hire women to get virtue points, make quota makers happy, and of course to avoid lawsuits. Then you have men demasculinized and turned into women, essentially. However, men, they make bad women. So they do poorly in a system that has now been tailored to women and is inundated with women. Then you have demonization of masculine traits which make men better workers and more competitive and successful, generally speaking. I mean, in truth, everything is against men and boys in today's world, and everything is designed to favor women and disenfranchise men. And in truth, we men have become just like the women in 1920, except we're the most capable to lead, we're the smartest and most productive segment of society, and we actually earn the privilege to lead, yet we're being displaced more and more. And we're being feminized more and more and told to be less masculine with each passing year. Heck, more and more dudes are dressing up in drag and proclaiming themselves to be women just so they can escape the anti-male rhetoric and atmosphere in society, and of course get virtue and victim points instead, because that's what's encouraged of them. And that's yet another reason for why women cannot find the quote-unquote good man, because they've spent the past 60 years training them not to be men. You should not be afraid of your feelings. You should cry more. Don't be afraid to cry. Get in touch with your feminine side. Talk about your feelings. Come on, talk about them. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you want. Talk to me. Talk to me. and while this is happening, women are complaining about there being no real men. I don't want a pussy. I want a man. I want a real man. Where are the real men? You want to know where they are? In large part, they don't exist anymore. You've spent the past 60 years turning them into women, and now you complain that there are no more real men. Of course there aren't. Meanwhile, as men have been becoming more feminine, women have been becoming more masculine. Partying, banging every guy they can, having lots of sex and fun, and wearing out their private parts from so much use. The old adage of throwing a hot dog down a hallway, that comes to mind. And this creates another problem for women in regards to finding a man. No man, that is, wants to marry a whore. You know, women lack any real understanding of male thinking, and they really don't understand women, or the differences between the two. Because, of course, they've been taught that there are no differences. We're all the same. Men and women are the same, and any differences are just socially constructed and can be changed with enough indoctrination. Whoops, excuse me, a Freudian slip there. I meant to say with enough exposure to the truth that men and women are no different, and it's only society that teaches them to be different. Okay. Even though differences in behavior and preferences can be seen as early as 3 days old, yet they're exactly the same, right? Okay. Anyhow, we all know that's nonsense. Men and women are very different, and to go against those natural differences is to spell trouble for yourself. Women make this giant mistake when they sleep around and try to act like men and justify it by saying men and women are equal, so they can also do what men do without consequence. But you see, men and women are not equal, and men want a good woman. And for a man, a good woman is one without a lot of sexual experience or a lot of miles on the odometer. But women, they don't want to believe this. Oh, no, they tell themselves they're a good catch as they make X amount of dollars and are very independent. But that's not what a man wants. And by the way, a man sleeping around is normal. It's natural. It's part of being a man. His natural drive is to mate with as many women as possible to spread his seed. Hers is to be as selective as possible and choose the best possible mate, as her eggs, unlike his sperm, are limited. This is really why it's largely unimportant in the eyes of society if men sleep around a lot, because that is a man's natural function. But it isn't a woman's. You can call it a double standard, call it whatever you like, but that's simply reality. And you women ignore reality to your own detriment. Hence, why you can't find a man. Because you're a whore. And if you wait until over the age of 30 to try and get married, you're an old whore to boot. Which leads us to another reason why women can't find a man. She's old. Once a woman hits 30, the quality of her eggs begins to rapidly decline, as do her looks. Now, some might argue that it happens even before that. In China, for example, if a woman gets to 27 and isn't married, she's considered a leftover woman. Basically, a woman no one wants. And believe me, no one does. As there must be something wrong with her if she hasn't found a husband yet. And you know what? Usually that's the case. You see, the mistake that women in Western countries make is thinking that they have somehow altered society enough that men no longer care about these types of things. Wrong. They do care, and that's why you are single. No man wants an old bag when he could have a young one. I mean, hell, who wants to make tea with an old used tea bag when there's a whole box of fresh new tea bags in the cupboard? Why would I reuse an old tea bag when I can have a fresh new one? Well, the answer's clear. I wouldn't. I want fresh, tasty tea, not weak, bitter, old tea. And by the way, ladies, most men share this sentiment. Even if they're not aware of it on a conscious level, they share it. So any woman over the age of 30 who has yet to find a husband is damaged goods in one form or another. And men on some level know this to be true, and they know to avoid her. She's been damaged by feminism telling her she can have her cake and eat it too, and that she can act like a man without any consequences, or she's been damaged by relationship after relationship failing because of the equality bullshit that feminism has put in her head, telling her that she is equal, meaning the same as a man, when she is actually very different. Which brings us to another reason why women can't find men. We don't want to fuck men. Now, of course, this doesn't include gay guys, but even they don't want these women as they want real men. Well, the same goes for us hetero men, only we want real women. What we don't want is a woman who's had 100 cocks stabbed into her, or who've been single for ages because of horrid feminist indoctrination telling them they don't need to be traditional women, which really means to be women. We don't like men in a sexual way, us men, so we're not attracted to you feminist women. Now, even if you're a good-looking woman, yeah, we might bang you, but that's it. We'll never marry you. Now, of course, I would never marry anyone, no matter how hot. But there's still a lot of dumb guys out there who sign up for what is essentially a losing proposition. That being the case, there's always going to be some dumb suckers who go through with it. But they, by and large, even they don't want masculine women. No, they want nice, sweet, supportive, appreciative, feminine women. Sadly, no more of those exist, so many of these dummies just marry the masculine ones, which is more or less all of them by now, because they don't know any better. And of course, there's nothing else out there. They don't know. These men, they don't know that this is not what women are supposed to be like. But an ever greater number of men are opting out of marriage, thank God. Hence the terms man desert and where are all the good men? Of course, as I said before, it isn't just men opting out. It's also women deeming most men as not being good. And that's a key distinction you have to make when listening to women, because they are not talking about men in general. Oh, no. There are plenty of men out there. There's huge swaths of men, but they don't see those guys. No. Those are not the good men. Not at all. The good men can and are quickly and easily identified by these women by a few key traits, which brings me to some of the other reasons why women are having a difficult time finding men. He's not tall enough. Now, you'd think this would be a non-issue. After all, so many women walk around wearing high heels that you'd think that a guy who made good money would still qualify as a good man, even were he her height or shorter than her. I mean, she could just wear flats, right? Nope. It ain't that easy, because women, for whatever reason, can't settle for anything less than perfection. And in their minds, a tall guy is perfection, and the taller, the better. If he's shorter than her, well, that just isn't going to cut it. Not for her. Yet they expect us to settle for things like women being fat, which is something they can actually control. Yet our height is not something we can control. Anyhow, this is oftentimes a deal breaker for women. Hell, in many cases, a woman won't even consider a shorter guy or a guy that's her height or whatever arbitrary number she's picked out of thin air. No, he must be this or he must be that. You know, it's almost as if women want to be alone forever, what with all these numerous exacting criteria that a man must meet. And then there's the overall problem addressed in some of these reasons, but only partially, and that is women's standards. You cannot ask a woman to lower her standards. Oh no, she has too much self-esteem, too much self-respect, and too much self-worth to lower her standards just to find a man. Why, she spent years and years of dating and banging around to form this exhaustive list of must and must-nots. This list is her perfect man. It is who she will get. There's no chance of failure. She will find this man. There's no doubt. You know, the funny thing is that standards, they have absolutely nothing to do with the quality of a man. Of course, women think they do, but they don't. If you tell a woman to lower her standards, she'll think that you're telling her to accept a lower quality man. However, she's mistaken. What you're actually saying is that her expectations as to what she can get are unrealistic, and that what she wants simply doesn't exist. However, you can't tell a woman that, because she always knows better than everyone else, and she's just too awesome to settle for less than what she thinks she deserves, as if a shorter guy would be less. That's a woman applying arbitrary labels to everything, and then qualifying them as positives that somehow contribute to the quality or lack of quality in a person. Yet I can think of any number of short, wealthy, highly intelligent, charismatic, interesting guys. Their being short didn't seem to impact them in any way in terms of their ability to achieve and be quality men. But that's the problem with women. They so often choose the wrong things to associate with the word quality in a man instead of classifying things like height as non-issues and actually focusing on things that have to do with quality, like personality, charm, sense of humor, and character, to name but a few. These things are, but no. To women, these things are secondary, okay? To most modern women, these things are secondary because they now make more money than men, and they're exercising more and more and more discrimination in their selection processes to the point of really utter absurdity. And then, of course, you have all of these other arbitrary little peccadillos that women tend to accumulate as they grow older, that you as a man must have, or you're just thrown aside so you don't waste their time. Because she's getting older, you know, and she doesn't have the time to waste talking to you or dealing with you if things are not 100% right off the bat. So you may not even get past the initial stage of the first meeting or the first date because things are not as she imagined them being when she's with the right guy. Hence, she will oftentimes make no effort to even get to know you. And she'll just move on and move on and move on until it's too late. And then she really does have to settle. And by then, she's so old and weathered by time and bad experiences with men, experiences largely brought on by her own unrealistic expectations and feminist ideology, that she'll be too damaged to even sustain a good relationship. And whatever man she does eventually end up with will either leave her or she'll leave him because there was just no way to make it work, what with all the baggage that she brought to the table. Also, women all too often don't think about what makes a good woman in the eyes of a man because of too much egalitarianism and too much talk of equality. This led women to erroneously believe that men want the same things that women want. A good salary, a stable, productive person, someone who owns real estate, etc., etc. No, we don't want that. We as men don't care about the same things women do. And thinking that men do, and essentially women failing to empathize with men. Something women are horrible at, by the way. And don't believe the propaganda that says otherwise. In doing this, women fail to develop the traits that we actually do look for in women. Men want what men want, ladies, and no amount of feminism or wishful thinking or trying to shame men or train them or indoctrinate that out of us is going to change us. We want what we want. You can't change that. And that brings me to something I've spoken of before. Fat. Men don't like fat women. We like thin. That's it. We also like long hair and women that don't talk too much. Sadly, today's women think they're all geniuses because of an education system that has produced an entire generation of narcissists who all believe that their insights are golden and that everyone cares about what they have to say because they're just so special and brilliant. A generation of women who have been lied to and told that it's okay to be fat and ugly and have man hair, and they can still be happy. Wrong. And honestly, ladies, if a man wants to have a good conversation, he doesn't want to have it with you. Talking to you, well, it's akin to going from driving a Porsche to driving an old jalopy or a VW Bug. Why would you want to do that? Why? And the short hair thing, again, we don't want to fuck a man. And the fat thing, well, that should be obvious by now. We don't want to be with someone who weighs more than we do. We don't even want to be with someone who is near our own weight. No, we want lithe. We want thin. We want demure women. Someone we can easily pick up, carry to bed, and who'll have no trouble moving around in the sack with us. And fat ladies, that ain't you. And by the way, men are more visual than women. Forget the BS feminists have been spreading lately that say the opposite. No. I mean, think about it. How many millions of years were we out there developing our visual acuity for the purpose of spotting prey and killing shit while you sat in a cave breastfeeding the kid? No. We are far more visual than women. And for a man, the less of you there is, the better. And of course, since American women are fatter than ever, well, there you go. And the laundry list of reasons why a woman can't find a man. Notice I didn't say good man, because what women define as good men, they don't exist. And even if some mystery guy did exist who fit all your criteria to a T, ladies, what do you think the odds are of you meeting him and of him being into you? I mean, really, ladies, you're not in any way realistic, either about what's out there or what you can get. That said, most women have such inflated self-worth that they'll never have a realistic idea of what they can or cannot get. And my final point is this. Even if you get what you want, that doesn't mean you'll be happy. Because things don't bring happiness. Getting arbitrary conditions met, that doesn't bring happiness. It might bring you status, and it might boost your ego for a time, but such things won't actually make you happy. You can find a man that fits all your criteria, but who says that being with him will make you happy? Now, you can set little arbitrary goals for yourself. For example, if you get a Mercedes, you'll be happy. If you get a job that pays X amount of dollars, you'll be happy. If you find a man that makes X amount of dollars and is Y in height, then you'll be happy. Nope. Happiness doesn't work that way. You saying something, that doesn't make it true. You can declare from sun up to sundown that having a quote-unquote thing will be a magic bullet in your formula for happiness. But it never works. Not ever, and it never will. So even if you are one of those rare women who believes this man or that man has fulfilled all of your criteria, that will not bring you happiness. So where have all the men gone? Well, women have puffed up their self-esteem and self-worth and their own idea of personal value to such a high degree that they won't settle for anything less than a guy who's tall, good-looking, drives a nice car, owns a nice house, and makes more money than they do. How many guys out there fit this criteria? 20% of all men? 10%? I think 20 is being too generous. And then maybe 10% or less fit this very rarefied criteria. I mean, talk about a small pool to fish in. Talk about a small pond of men to draw from. I mean, good luck, ladies, in finding what you're seeking. And there you have it. There you have it. Feminized wussy men, masculinized butch women running around sleeping with as many men as they can, an ideology that is anathema to a successful relationship, men not wanting to marry whores, women not wanting to marry anything except the guy who fits her exacting criteria, only to find out that such men either don't exist or they don't have a realistic idea of their own self-worth, which is almost always vastly inflated. Hence, they can't get such a guy anyway. Then you have women judging what men want of women via their own standards of what makes a good man, and then trying to make themselves into that, only failing to see that we don't want what they want. Or women simply not caring at all for what men want because, of course, women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Until that fish gets old, of course, and then that fish needs a bicycle to get around. But by then, the only bikes that fish can afford are pieces of crap, or none at all. You know, the real miracle in all of this is that any women are finding men and getting married, and the only reason for that is society's continued shaming of men and its reliance on men being pack animals who are easily shamed into serving and doing what society expects of them without complaint. Hopefully that's starting to change and men are starting to wake up. And there you go. That's why women are not able to find men. And a laundry list it is. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.